If one income in your household disappeared tomorrow, how long would your current lifestyle survive? How long would it last? Your actual fixed obligations, the rent or mortgage, the car payments, insurance, student loans, daycare, minimum payments, subscriptions. Strip everything down to what must be paid to keep your life intact. That number is your survival number. And for most dual income couples, they can't even comprehend the thought. Two professional salaries look like stability. Promotions, benefits, direct deposits landing twice a month. On paper, the household is strong. Combined income climbs, and the assumption is that security climbs with it. But what actually tends to rise first is lifestyle infrastructure. A better apartment in a safer neighborhood, two newer cars instead of one older vehicle, higher insurance coverage, faster internet, more convenience, maybe a storage unit, maybe a gym membership closer to home. None of it feels reckless. Each upgrade is rational in isolation. You can afford it. It improves quality of life. It reflects progress. The issue is not any single decision. The issue is permanence. Take a couple earning $9,000 per month after taxes. That is solid income in many cities. Now look underneath the headline number. $2,800 for rent in a desirable area, $1,200 in car payments, $600 student loans, $300 insurance, $400 utilities, $1,000 groceries, $250 phones and internet, $150 subscriptions. Before investing, before travel, before emergency savings, before planning for children, roughly $6,600 is already committed. That is around 73% of income locked in before long-term progress even begins. They are not broke, they are functioning, but they are not flexible. Flexibility is what financial strength actually feels like. It is not the size of the paycheck, it is the space between income and obligation. When 70 to 80% of take-home pay is fixed, small disruptions expand emotionally. A $1,200 car repair is not a line item, it is a stress event. A medical bill is not an inconvenience, it creates tension. A rumor about layoffs is not background noise, it threatens structural stability. Spending itself is not the core problem, fixed spending is. You can skip a vacation, you cannot skip rent. You can pause dining out, you cannot pause a car payment. The trap forms gradually because every step feels earned. You work harder, you get promoted, income increases, the apartment feels outdated, the commute feels inefficient, the car feels unreliable, upgrading feels responsible, and in many ways it is. But each decision slightly increases the baseline cost required to feel normal. The survival number keeps rising. Early in a relationship, the structure is lighter. Rent is split, expenses are modest. There is breathing room. Losing one income would be uncomfortable but survivable. Then income rises. Year 3, promotions arrive. You move to a better neighborhood. Year 5, cars are upgraded. Year 7, maybe you buy instead of rent. The mortgage replaces rent. Property taxes become permanent. Insurance rises. Maintenance becomes yours. Each step is logical. Combined, they shift something fundamental. The survival number increases. Maybe you once needed $5,000 per month to keep life stable. Now you need $7,000, then $8,000. Not to grow, not to invest, just to maintain. At that point, two incomes stop being an advantage. They become a requirement. You cannot easily step back from work. You cannot easily take a lower-paying but meaningful role. You cannot tolerate long gaps between jobs. Career risk feels dangerous, even if it could pay off long-term. Not because you lack courage, but because your structure demands consistency. Now introduce a child. Daycare in many cities approaches $1,500 per month. Health insurance premiums rise. Medical visits increase. Supplies accumulate. But the larger shift is time. One partner may want reduced hours. One may want to pause work entirely for a period. If fixed costs are already consuming most of income, there is no room to experiment with those choices. The decision is no longer about values. It is about math. The pressure is not dramatic, it is quiet. It shows up in late-night conversations about budgets, in hesitation around career changes, in postponing long-term plans because this month feels tight, in thinking, even briefly, that one mistake could destabilize everything. Thin margins amplify fear, and fear narrows options. The emotional cost of fragility. High fixed costs do more than restrict finances. They alter the emotional structure of a relationship. When survival depends on two full incomes, each partner carries invisible weight. One may feel they cannot fail. The other may feel they cannot slow down. If one income disappears, the structure shakes. That awareness changes behavior. Career dissatisfaction becomes harder to act on. Burnout becomes harder to address. Relocation becomes harder to consider. Entrepreneurship feels irresponsible. Even rest feels expensive. Money stress rarely looks explosive. It looks like subtle tension, avoided conversations, delayed planning, quiet resentment during tight months, small comments that carry more weight than they should. Instead of two people building something resilient, it can begin to feel like two people maintaining something fragile. This is the real cost of rising fixed expenses, not just financial pressure, but psychological fragility. When margins are thin, pressure rises quickly. When pressure rises, flexibility disappears. Income growth alone does not create freedom. Margin does. Real security is not having two paychecks. It is knowing that if one disappeared, the structure would hold long enough to adjust. It is the ability to lower expenses without collapsing your lifestyle. It is having options. Two incomes can be powerful, but only if they build breathing room instead of permanently raising the baseline. Otherwise, the household may look strong from the outside, while depending on constant performance from both sides to remain stable. Calculate your survival number honestly. Then ask a harder question. Are you building income or are you building dependency on income? The difference determines whether two paychecks create freedom or simply sustain a higher cost version of the same pressure.
The solution is not austerity, it is structural awareness. Start by calculating your survival number in detail, not an estimate, a precise figure. List every mandatory payment. Separate what is truly fixed from what feels fixed but could be adjusted. Many households discover that their sense of obligation is higher than their actual obligation, but they only see that once it is written down clearly. Then evaluate upgrades differently. Before increasing rent, financing a new vehicle, or committing to a long-term expense, ask a structural question. Does this raise our baseline permanently? And if it does, how does it affect our ability to absorb a shock? A lifestyle upgrade is not only about affordability today, it is about resilience tomorrow. Consider using income growth to lower fragility rather than raise consumption. Accelerate debt payoff. Increase emergency reserves beyond the typical 3 months. Build 6, 9, or 12 months of runway. Create optionality deliberately. The goal is to make two incomes powerful because they are strategic, not because they are required. Margin changes how you experience life. It changes how you negotiate at work. It changes how you think about risk. It changes how you respond to uncertainty. It reduces the emotional weight attached to every unexpected expense. It restores choice. If you want more analysis like this, focused on structure, long-term thinking, and the mechanics behind financial pressure, subscribe to the channel. These conversations are about building systems that can withstand change, not just increasing income headlines. The earlier you understand how your fixed cost base shapes your freedom, the more control you retain over your future decisions. Redefining what ahead actually means. Many couples measure progress by visible upgrades, a larger home, newer cars, a higher standard of living. The signal feels clear. If life looks better, you must be ahead. But real progress is not how expensive your lifestyle becomes. It is how shock-resistant it becomes. A household earning $9,000 a month with $8,000 in fixed costs is more fragile than a household earning $6,000 a month with $3,500 in fixed costs and substantial reserves. The first looks wealthier. The second is structurally stronger.
Being ahead means your obligations grow slower than your income. It means you can tolerate disruption without panic. It means one partner can pivot careers without threatening the foundation. It means a child does not automatically eliminate flexibility. It means job loss becomes a transition period rather than a crisis. Two incomes are not the problem. Dependency on two incomes is. If you shift the definition of success from visible upgrades to structural freedom, your decisions change. You become slower to lock in recurring costs, faster to eliminate debt, more intentional about housing, more disciplined about lifestyle inflation. That shift is not about restriction, it is about control. Calculate your survival number, lower it deliberately over time, expand your margin intentionally. Redefine ahead as having options. That is how two incomes stop feeling like pressure and start functioning